Dear Jan, I thank you very much to accept this interview. You are like half of the citizens of the world, also confined in Warsaw. Your activity is same time teaching design and a new media and do it. I will be very interested to listen what this situation change in your reflection about design, but also about the society, and what you think we can construct in this after tomorrow, who will be, I hope, better as the yesterday.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, thanks for the invitation. I'm really glad that we can talk even when the borders are shut down and closed. So the world is changing constantly, and as we've met 2 months ago or 1 month ago, I don't remember now, but it was completely different reality. And now we wake up in a world that looks different. So after some countries decided to shut the borders, and the European free zone actually can exist in the way as we know it. Those decisions becomes like telling the new story. During the exhibition in Place Doré, when we was working on the project, we decided to, based on the Plato quotes that those who tell the stories rule society. And now some European leaders are starting to tell the new stories. Maybe not only European, but also in the world. And those story is the story of the illusion, I think. So it's not the liberal story, as we know, about the safety, about the sustainability and comfort. It's not the story about the illusion that resolute action about shut borders, and if our action don't bring the results, so we need to do the same, but even more. So this is the crazy thinking, yeah? So we can cancel the old flights from China to stop the virus. We didn't stop the virus, so let's close the whole borders. If we can close the borders, so personally, me as a citizen, I can go to the park or to the forest, which might have a positive impact on my mental health, but I can't because it's strictly forbidden. So how far we can go in that illusion? That's the question. And this is what's happened now in the society. And design and education is a part of it. So
I think it's very important what you say about this restriction of our psychological and physical situation, to say they don't only say be hurry to don't contact another person who's naming this social distancing, who is a terrible word, because it's not a social distancing at all, has to be a physical distancing. Why social? And this inactivity who bring us in a kind of vegetation.
Yeah, that's true. But maybe back to your previous question about the education and design nowadays. A year ago, we planned to, together with the partners from my academy, we planned a workshop week, cross-cultural workshop week, which will happen this month for two weeks. And when the situation is getting worse, we decided that we would like to give up. We want to continue our work, and let's organize it online. It will be a new experience, totally different. But even our school is working online, and we just switch for the online mode like just in one day. So that was quite interesting experience, how fast we can adapt to the new reality. And now we are trying to contact people, to go give the students those experience, to learn from the other teachers, professors who are living in a different countries, who grew up in a different cultures. So even if the borders are closed, we can still have the ability to contact, to share, to exchange it for somehow, yeah. And I think it's really important to always try to find some positive impact, even in those situations, in any other, and think about what we can do to improve our work after everything will, let's say, back to the normal. Because maybe there is something what we can keep, and that will be a great value of who we are as tutors, who we are as designers. So because the changes in education are dramatically slow, and we are one step behind the reality and 3 steps behind the future, we always need to predict what will happen in a few years. But now, the words, as you can see, it's not changing year by year, it's changing month by month. So it's happening very rapidly.
But did we don't have to think again about this competition who was 20 years ago in between the logic of web and the logic of fax? The Japanese culture of communication, who is based on drawing, and the Occidental way of communication, who is based on words and on texts. What bring me a little bit in afraidness is that we all now on the world have the only possibility to make this interconnection, this social interconnection, with the tools who are tools of American societies at all.
Maybe, but at the same time, if you look back and you think what you can lose, probably you would like to keep it, yes, for somehow, for yourself, to feel that you have this ability to shape the world and the environment. But when you look at these young people, there is not so big change for them, because if you will look precisely how they contact every day, you will see that those situations don't change so much in their life and the way how they communicate.
So it's a kind of introduction of the, we can say, education or culture inside of something who was a little bit superficial in the past, who was only based on connections, but probably in a way without, I will not say without culture, because everything is culture, but without the importance of the collective elements, the common elements.
Yes, exactly. And I think that also the development of the education and design, it's always the game of the values. Maybe we lose something, but we can get something more. So the question is, are we ready to be open for this new world and this new reality? As you can see in the history, those of not only designers, but artists, whoever else, architects who keep the old habitats, they always lose because there is no other way, actually, and that's pretty sad. I don't want to say that it's good, but somehow it's sad, because maybe we lose something and we will never get it again. But at the same time, we need to adapt and have the ability to adapt to those changes.
But you speak about cross-culture, and I like to connect this cultural difference also with contextual realities. And the point is, how can we construct on this digital reality a contextual approach of design?
Well, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to everyone, not also to me, but also to our partners around the world, from Tokyo to New York. Everyone says that they never did it. They never did it again before. So they just, let's say, let's try. Maybe we will lose. Maybe everything's collapse. But if we will not try, we will not even know if it's good or not. Yeah. And now, well, after we will repeat our conversation for 1 month, I can tell you how it works. But I believe that it is possible that even that we can still share and learn from each other on this online mode. That it's not so big difference, because when you look how many information you take each day, probably most of it is from the web. So the web now is keeping the power and this ability to share the information very rapidly. So why we can do this in the field of education? Sure. There is so big difference in I don't know, reading articles, books, which are available only online, and just to have a class which is also online. I don't think so.
What is very, for my generation and for probably more for your generation, strange is we have the same way to communicate it for persons who are 20 or 50 meters of distance of our as for persons who are on the other side of the world.
That's true.
It's a kind of generalization and at all decontextualization. No?
Because the way how we communicate is not only about the words, but only about the gestures, about the body movement. It's about the smell and so on. And probably that's something what we really miss, and what we want to bring as fast as we can. And it will happen for sure. It's not the first crisis, but it's the first pandemic which happened in Europe during the digital era. And that's interesting, how we can use those new media to overwhelm the current situation. I think we did it. And our conversation now is the proof that we did it. So for somehow we need to just develop it. We need to be more open for the tools that we already had before, but we never use it so intensively. So somehow it can help us even to be more integrated, to be more open, to share the information even more than before. So that's a
design is also, in design you have also this moment who is very important, who is prototyping. Is bringing in a reality, bringing in an experience to test to, and what in the teaching also of design, how can we work on this point?
Yeah, I'm always telling students that prototyping or just test it must happen very quickly and very fast. Don't spend too much time. So if you can use just the normal tools that you have on the desk to test something, just do it. You don't need the precisely shaped form of the project that you would like to test it. It could be absolutely something very primitive, something very basic. And in the way of education, I'm working on the punk science class. This is established 2 years ago, and it's dedicated to the low budget scientific equipment that we can build, and it helps to collect the data, highly valuable professional data that will help to improve the scientific research. So we collaborate with the scientists around the world and try to support them as a graphic designers to develop their projects. And we start 2 years ago with the series of manuals which was dedicated to the devices called baby legs. And it's a tool which allows you to measure the plastic pollution in the ocean, in the water. It is so simple, but the way how the students work on that manuals, they need to build the device by themselves. So they need to test it and check how they can, if there are some tough points that they need to focus to develop and to create a very functional manual. Then we jumped into the other project. We collaborate with the company called QED, which is led by the William Wu, who is the engineer from the USA. And then we focus on the two different projects dedicated to one to the healthcare medical system in Kenya. It was the form, which it's a paper form that you can fill it, but after that you can scan it and you have digital data just in 1 minute. So for those poor countries who don't have money to develop the medical system, it's a great opportunity to collect the highly professional digital data and to improve the medical system. And also the other project was a scan spectrum, which is dedicated mostly to the rural areas in South America. So thanks to the spectrometer, you can measure, well, for example, the leaves and check if they are sick or not and what's happened, and you can share the data with the specialists in the other side of the globe and get the answer. So this is why when we how I perceive the prototyping in my area, that it's very important, but that it's only part of the process. At the end should be functional project. So you can even start prototyping in the very initial part, and don't spend too much time to have enough time to develop the project in the more advanced stage.
So you see at all, to make a conclusion, this time as a kind of prototyping of a new world.
It is. But as I mentioned, it's a prototyping the new world during the era of illusion.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jan.